How are you today, Emilia?
I'm very well, thank you. It's
Great,
summertime and we are out of COVID, quite out of the COVID here in Italy, so things are going better.
great. Well, I'm very glad to hear that, and I'll be
Mm.
even gladder when I can visit. So it's going to be a little while, I think, but
Yes.
this is a great way to connect. So, first question is, how is the weather right now in Montalcino, and how is the growing season gone so far in 2020?
The season is great. It's we have had a little shower in the last 2 days, and this was good because we have had a very high summertime temperature, and in Celsius was at 38 degrees. I do not know in
Yeah,
Fahrenheit,
that's
but
right, like
it's quite hot.
105 degrees or something. Yeah. Wow.
Yes, so at the end of July, normally we have some showers that refresh, and so even the vines has the possibility to rest a little bit because the vines are like people. When it's too hot, they suffer.
They just shut down. They stop
They're a
working.
little bit tired, so a little shower is good. It's like when we splash in the seaside or in our swimming pool. So for them too, it has been a good thing. And the weather is the climate this year is good, even if we have had a little bit too much warm winter in February and a little bit too much cold April, but now things are wonderful, so it's good. It's
Good. Well, I know we're just early into August, but can you make a prediction as far as the harvest? Will it be on time, a little bit late?
The only things that we can tell you is that the yield is very low. We will not have a lot of a big amount of grape. It's quite low, even because last years we have had a lot of grape of very good quality, and this year's, like in nature, 1 year is up, the production is up, 1 year is down. So this is the way the vines produce. So it's like that. Like it's a fruit tree, and so like for olive tree, like for apricot, like for peach, any kind of fruit, 1 year produce a lot, and 1 year produce less.
Right. Has that changed over the last few years with climate change, or is it always like that? 1 year is a big crop, next year is a small crop.
But the climate is changing a little bit. It's, in my opinion, this vintage probably will be of a higher quality. I like it very much. This vintage is good. It shows very well. But we have other 40 days or probably a little something, 90 days to wait for the harvest time. And so it's a long time. In nature, it's a long time. And if we have a good temperature, we can preserve the quality that we have in our vineyard. Or if we have too much showers or too much hot, things can change a lot.
Right. You never know. So
no, we never know. No.
As several producers have told me in Italy, it's like the great thing about producing wine and growing grapes and things is that you work with Mother Nature, and they said, and the bad thing about that work is that you work with Mother Nature. You just never know. It could be great 1 year. It could have problems with it.
That's probably what makes the wine such a charming things to drink, because every vintage is different.
Exactly.
It's not only for us. We take the risk to produce good wines, but every vintage is different, and every piece of land, every terroir is completely different. That's probably risky, but at the same time, the beauty of the wine, because every producer is different, every vintage is different, so that's what makes this so fascinating about wines.
Exactly, and that gives the rest of us something to talk about and discuss and argue with, and rate one vintage better than another. But that's great. It's not a recipe, so that's great.
Yes.
Let's do a lot of things to talk about today. Let's start with the history of the winery, and let's talk about your father. And
yes,
I understand that before he purchased the vineyards, he was the head of a company very famous in Italy, I guess, for agricultural products, right?
Yes, that's true. We come from farming. My grandmother she had born in 1860, so years and more than a century ago.
Right.
When she got married, as a dowry, she brought some field, some place where to produce cereal and tobacco, but in Umbria, because my family origins are in Umbria, in the upper Tiber Valley. And after my grandfather had to emigrate in South America and Argentina in 1890 and came back in 1895. They had 2 children. He suffered a lot about melancholy, about the family, so he came back. And coming back, he brought some design of a new agriculture implements, very innovative. My grandfather was a genius. And so he created a kind of a plow that was used in the upper Tiber Valley at the first. And after that was a period when Italy was developing a little bit, especially they were focusing a lot in farming. And so my grandfather showed the plows, this an innovative plow, to the international show that was held in Paris, the one the international show when the Tour Eiffel was built. So imagine years and years ago, as one of the innovative products of Italy. And after that, you know, the farming and the agriculture has changed a lot from the ox traction, I think animal traction.
Right.
And between the First and the Second World War, the change and with the tractor. And so all the plow, all the agriculture implements has been changed in the farms. And so we have taken a lot of profit about this situation, and mostly after the Second World War. And this situation has been taken by my father. My father was of the 1907. When I was born, he was 57 years old, and now I am 57 too.
I wasn't going to ask. Okay.
And but it's. It's age, everyone, it's good that I have lived as much as 57 years.
Right.
And so in 1950, he had a lot of work, and he had some problems. He was so tired, and the doctor advised him to buy a place where him could be himself. And for this reason, from Umbria, he took the decision to buy other lands in Montalcino. Montalcino was a very, very, very rural place. And he bought the estate of Casale del Bosco in the northwest side of Montalcino. And at the first, there were very few vineyards, a lot of a field for cereal production that we have now too, because we are farmer and wine producer at the same time. And during a dinner, trying to sell the agriculture implements to some neighborhoods, because he was a businessman and he tried to always to take a profit of the place where he was. During this dinner, and there were some families that produced Brunello at the time, the Cinelli Colombini, the Biondi Santi, the Lisini, they proposed him to start to produce Brunello di Montalcino. And they told him, we need a businessman like you between the producer. But the producer at that time, there were only 5. So now we are the number 6 to have started the production of Brunello di Montalcino.
And the first vintage was, I believe, what, 1958?
No, 1954.
54, okay, I'm sorry.
The first production was of only 1,000 bottles produced with the vineyards that they were there, and in Casale del Bosco. And we show our wines in the Italian wine show that now is called Vinitaly in Verona, but before was in Siena, before he moved to Verona. And we have the first bottle. We have the first one with a tag handwritten by my father, who says, "This is the first." And we always have in our archives, in our bottle library, as I call, and we are very proud. So we have the number 6 to have entered into the history of Brunello di Montalcino.
That's great.
Producing agriculture implements, sorry, please.
No, go ahead.
I just finished my concept. We know perfectly the importance of the soil in any kind of crops. And my father realized that to the rocky soil of the Northwest that offered very elegant wine, he needed to have a little bit more of a shoulder, a little bit more strength in the wine, more body. He bought in the 1962 other 2 pieces of land in the east side of Montalcino. So to Casale del Bosco, in the northwest, that means a big house in the forest, he added Mana Chiara and Pinsale, and the name means bright morning because it faces the sunrise, and Pinsale, that is like the hand of a mountain, like the path. I don't know how to translate in English. In the east side, they offer a little bit more body into our wines, and they have been bought in 1962.
I've got some images here. Let me put these up, and you can talk about them. We can look at both Casale and Mana Chiara. Here's a picture of Mana Chiara.
Yes, is that it? And the Mana Chiara now is, if you look, is on the top. This is a new vineyard, is a vineyard in the front, on the back of the house. The vineyard dated back to the late 50s. Now we have explanted the vineyard, but the vineyard that you see on the bottom of the photo is the one that we have replanted 15 years ago with the old variety of Sangiovese Grosso that we have found in the old vineyards. Obviously, it was so old we needed to replant it. But we have done the replantation 15 years ago before to explant the old one, because for the Sangiovese Grosso, you needed to wait 15 years, so 12 to 15 years to achieve the high standard of quality for the grape.
Right, because put the
this is another vineyard. This is Poggiodoria. This is Poggiodoria in the northwest side of Montalcino, where is Casale del Bosco is. This is a big vineyard which has been planted in 1988, and always with the old variety of Sangiovese Grosso that we have selected in the old vineyard. Because when I had become the president of this company, I have tried to respect the tradition of our family. That means to be innovative in some way in farming. I have had a great respect for the terroir, and for this reason, in 1993 we have done the zoning, the zonazione, I don't know, zonation. I don't know. How do you call the
zonation?
Zonation of the soil, and we have a lot of land because we have more than 3,000 acres of soil, and we have picked up the best 300 acres where to go to replant the vineyards, and we know perfectly what happens in the 2 meters down the surface where the root stock of the vineyard will go to grow. And Sassi and Oria in Casale del Bosco were the 2 best places where to plant the vineyard. But at the same time, we have selected the old variety of Sangiovese Grosso, selected that we have found in the old vineyard. There is a long history. I don't know if you could be interested in that, but Sangiovese means Jupiter's blood. And it's quite easy to understand that this kind of grape date back over many centuries. Some people says that comes from the Etruscan time or the Roman time. It's an old variety of grape that we have in the center of Italy. And you have to consider that Chianti, Brunello, Nobile, Morellino are all made with the Sangiovese Rosso. But if now with the car, the distances are only half hour driving,
Right.
40 minutes, 1 hour driving, before was 1 or 2 days walking.
Right, right.
And for this reason, every place has developed all along the century its own kind of a Sangiovese Rosso. In Montalcino, since the 1995, the Sangiovese was called Brunello. That's just a curiosity that I tell you, and that's
the name Brunello refers to the color, right, of the stalks.
Refers to the colors because Brunello means small and dark. Because the berry of the Sangiovese of Brunello, the Sangiovese developed along the centuries Montalcino, is small and dark.
Okay, and I find it interesting. You said there's all different strains or types of Sangiovese Grosso, whether it's in Montalcino or Piano or Scansano, wherever. But I still get confused a little bit, even after traveling there for 20 years. And I'm sure people watching want to know. But we hear about Sangiovese, we hear Sangiovese Grosso, we hear Sangioveto. Can you describe the differences in all these three, or is that something that would take 2 hours to describe?
Sangiovese, it's I try to be very simple and as short as I can do. So, it's an old variety. Every place has a different climate and terroir differences, a situation. And for this reason, this grape variety along the century has adapted, has had some genetic changes in itself. And it's quite interesting to know that after 40 years that the vines of Sangiovese is planted in a place different from the original one, it changes genetically. And that is what has happened along the century. If you consider the Chianti area as a different climate and terroir, which are completely different from Montalcino, which is more drier, or from the Nobile, from Montepulciano. So in every place, this grape that has changed, has adapted to the terroir, to the place, has taken different name. Okay. And more, we have a dialect. We are an old nation, and every place has its own dialect. So sometimes a pen can be called in completely 3-4 different ways, even if always to tell this is a pen. So, and this has happened even for the grape. This is in a short way, probably not as so scientific what has happened all along the century with the Sangiovese Grosso. But genetically, refers to the same family. They are brothers. Sometimes, and between Sangiovese Grosso and Sangiovese, they are cousin. And between Sangiovese Grosso Brunello and the Sangiovese Grosso Nobile, which is called the Cilieggiolo or the Morellino, we have differences. They are brothers, if you want, but they are not the same. They are not the same.
But so you said it used to be.
It's a very simple way to explain what has happened.
Like I said, I can imagine you could talk for an hour about this, but that was a good short explanation. So it used to be called Brunello, but now you just refer to it as Sangiovese Grosso.
Yes. Okay. Sangiovese Grosso. And imagine that the agriculture minister is trying to make to catalog, to have a catalog of different variety, and the private people can register the one that they have selected. at the current moment, there are 125 different Sangiovese Grosso
Wow.
recognized, and we have offered to this app, to these things, 5 of our old clones selected in the old variety of Sangiovese. The only things they offer to us is to give a name to this Sangiovese Grosso. So for us is TSN, that means Tenuta Silvio Nardi 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last one is FL, because it's like Fabrizio Lazzari, the agronomist who has taken care for us about this clonal selection and about the registration.
Okay, great. I remember when I was first learning Italian and I was visiting with a producer in Chianti Classico, he taught me a sentence, and I remember to this day, but it was about Sangiovese, about how unusual the grape is, but the sentence was Sangiovese è un varietà.
You know what, Tom? Hello?
Yep.
Can you listen to me?
Yeah, your picture is freezing up, but I can hear you. So go ahead. And I have to have you log in again. I'm not sure. Your picture is frozen there, and I'm not hearing you. Can you hear me? Wave. You may have to log in again. Ciao. I see you, but I don't hear you.
Can you listen to me?
Yes, everything's good now. Okay.
So because we have I think the talk has stopped with the Sangiovese Grosso,
right,
and Sangiovese selection, and we have 5 clones selected by our estate, and they will be used to be replanted for the replantation of all the surface under vineyards in our Tenuta Silvio Nardi.
I was starting to tell the story when I first was visiting Italy, like 20 years ago, and I was in Chianti Classico. A producer taught me a sentence about Sangiovese because I wanted to learn Italian, and obviously I'm going to need it. And it was, I remember to this day, but just about how unusual Sangiovese is. And it was, Sangiovese è una varietà molto difficile. Germoglia presto, matura tardi, e tende a produrre molto. And so,
that's true. That's true.
And for people that don't know Italian, it's a very difficult variety. It blooms early, it harvests late, and it tends to give a big yield. So, which is not necessarily a good thing, right?
That's why we presume to say that Montalcino is the best place in the world where to grow Sangiovese Grosso, because there is a combination of a perfect place. It's dry place, so reduce the quantity of grape produced, but at the same time, the man has learned how to deal with this complicated variety of grape. So it's a combination between nature and man.
That's a good way of putting it. And I know that in Chianti Classico, for example, like you mentioned, Montalcino is drier. They have a lot of problems with rain in October, but Montalcino is Monte Amiata, which is not too far away, blocks a lot of that rain. So it really is very beneficial for harvest.
But the Mount Amiata is an old volcano that
volcano, right?
Volcano, yes.
Volcano.
That is so high that protect us from the winds coming from the south. You know that the rain is formed when cold and warm winds meet, and we have a shower. And the Mount Amiata protects a lot us from the south. But at the same time, the place is dry, but it's even warm. It's a little bit warmer compared to the Chianti Classico, because they have a long chain of the Apennines mountain that brings them a little bit cooler here, cooler weather. And we have some shower now, as I was telling you before, but after these, only at the end of August, sometimes we have other showers. And after we reach the harvest time with a very dry climate. And that makes the grape to be more concentrate, a little bit more. The skin is a little bit thicker. And you know that the polyphenol, a lot of substances are responsible for the quality are in the skin and under the skin.
Right.
So it's important that for us it's a thick skin and a little bit less quantity of water in the berry.
Okay.
That's why it's called the Brunello, small and black.
Okay. I'm going to put up another picture here, beautiful picture of the estate. And for people that had visited the town of Montalcino, it's probably about a good 1 hour drive, isn't it, out to where your estate is?
It's 30 minutes, 35 minutes away. If you come with the bus, it's 40.
Okay. Well, yeah, it depends on, I keep forgetting that you're talking about Italians driving, so I'm like
yes. This, as you see, it's a house in the forest. We have some vineyards in the forest, in the middle of the forest, and this creates in the northwest a special microclimate, which is very helpful in the moment of global warming like we are now, because the forest help us to have not humidity but a little bit cooler weather. So put down especially during the night time, so the vines has the possibility to rest a little bit, and after during the sunshine of the day work again, but less tired than the vines that has had too much warm along the day. So the excursion of temperature between night and day are stronger here than in the east side state of Manacchiara.
Okay.
This is our headquarters. This is our headquarters where we have the cellar, and the big pink house is my house, and where we have the office where Tom you have been, and where we receive the guests. Yes. The other houses are for people who work for us. We are a real estate, we are farming place. We do not have agritourism. It's a place where we work, and we offer the house to people working for us.
Okay. How many meters above sea level are these vineyards?
It is 250 meters on the sea level here in Casale del Bosco, but the other vineyards in the northwest side goes up till 385 meters on the sea level. Montalcino has primarily not mountain, but hill vineyards. We do not have vineyards in the valley. It's more typical we go up, right, because we would like to avoid the fog, for the fog that brings mold during the harvest time. But even in April, we would like to have the vineyard hopper, because we do not want some freezing. We do not have it's difficult to explain in English. Sometimes happens that in April we have night, March, April, some night where the climate is so cold that could frost the frost for the sprout. This is not good.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the wines. Let's start with the Rosso di Montalcino.
Yes, which is this one.
Okay.
I show you.
And it's perfect. Okay. And the current vintage is what?
The current vintage we have at the 2018.
Okay.
I don't know if everyone who's listening to us is familiar with the process how to produce Brunello and Rosso. The first thing is that we have talked a lot about Sangiovese, because we are allowed to use only Sangiovese Grosso 100%. We cannot blend with other grape variety like the other wines with the Sangiovese in Tuscany. And another thing is that all the process from the grape to the moment we stick the label on the bottle has to happen in Montalcino. We are not allowed to buy grape from other place. And that means that if you want to become a Brunello or Rosso producer, you have to be Montalcino. And you cannot buy grape from outside. Because we want really the wine to express this the potential of this special place, which is the county of Montalcino for the Sangiovese. Rosso we produce when vineyards are younger than 10 years. Younger than 10 years because we wanted to offer a fresh, drinkable wine, great with poultry or with the pasta or Italian appetizer, or some fish which is a little bit fat, like the abalone or things like that.
Right, right.
The Rosso di Montalcino that we produce comes from very young vineyards, and so younger than 10 years. And plus another things, we refine this wine only 6 months in big oak cask. Okay. And after we process a little bit and we put in the bottles to be released on the market.
Now,
so Brunello for us, because it's not that a wine is supposed to be a Brunello. For the Brunello, we prefer to have grapes coming from vineyard older than 12 years, 10 or 12 years.
Now,
so this is the difference. The quality of the grape is different.
Right. So
sorry, the sunshine is,
that's all right.
Is kissing me.
Okay. No, that's not the worst thing. So the decision that you have as far as the Rosso for vines that are younger than 10 years, is that your personal decision, or does the consortio say that?
No. This is our personal decision. Okay. It's our estate decision. We have seen that we really wanted to offer a different wine compared to the Brunello.
Okay. So any producer can
choose. Can do what he wants. Even the refining wood is not mandatory. Is advice, and they tell you it's better. But if you want to do the vinification in steel or concrete, and after to bottle the wine, you can do it.
So release it when you want, right?
It's a wine that has been created in 1965. And there's been to offer the possibility to the farmer that started to produce Brunello, to offer a wine to support economically the Brunello, this new producer. And we have seen that there is a space for this wine, because not everybody likes the Brunello di Montalcino, or they don't want to, they really desire to have a Sangiovese Grosso from Montalcino, but with a different style. And Rosso is it's absolutely good and offers the acidity and the smoothness of a Sangiovese Grosso, but in a completely different way than a Brunello di Montalcino.
Right. That's a good way to describe it. And I think another way is to say that, when you pop a cork and you have a bottle of red wine that you just enjoy, you can drink throughout the whole meal. As I say, you don't have to think about it. You don't worry about, what will this wine be like in 5 years or 10 years? You enjoy it that night. And yes. There's sometimes we get so caught up in how long a wine will age that we forget that it's meant to be enjoyed with food.
Yes, even if it also can age for some years. We are tasting some Rosso over the 2012, 2014.
Oh, really? Oh, great.
But honestly, it's not a wine that require a more aging in the bottles to be at the best. It's a wine that we really release on the market and you can drink as it is, no problem.
Right.
No question.
And how many bottles of this do you produce in a typical year? And also tell me about.
We produce 60,000 bottles.
60,
we are not so big as a winery, because we have 240 acres, of which 21 acres are planted for Rosso di Montalcino.
Okay.
And on the reverse, for the Brunello, we have 150 acres, but the production per hectare is so small, per acres is so small because we focus a lot on quantity, on quality more than on quantity.
Of course.
In Tenuta Silvio Nardi, we do not buy grape. We do not buy grape, we do
That's
not
good to know.
buy
Okay.
liquid wine. So the wine that you find in the bottles are the one that are produced inside our estate completely. And for this reason, even if some people believe we are big, we are not big. We are medium, and we offer really these. I have it, the concept of the French chateau,
Right.
or the champagne liedi. That means that the wine really are the voice of the vineyards that we own in Montalcino. We move up to the Brunello. What do you think?
Please. Let me ask you one question before we do that. But you mentioned the Rosso is 2018. And of course, the Rosso to me is also a nice preview of what Brunello will be. And your Brunello won't be out for 3 years, 2018, but I understand it was an excellent vintage.
Yes, it's a very good vintage. Yes, absolutely, it's been a good vintage, and there is a secret about the vintages, Tom, that sometimes, and there probably I can be a little bit controversial with there are some vintages which are not as good as wonderful. And that was a Brunello. That wine was supposed to become a Brunello, but we prefer to offer as a Rosso di Montalcino. Example is the 2014.
Okay, right.
There we produce more Rosso because we use the young Brunello to be offered to the market. And most of the time that weak vintages are very good to buy as a Rosso di Montalcino, are very good buy for the Rosso di Montalcino, not for Brunello, but for Montalcino, for Rosso, yes.
Right.
And
yes, let's talk about Brunello now.
The Brunello. Here we are. 150 acres planted under Brunello di Montalcino, split in 28 vineyards, but we have 50 different vinification because we split in different parcel the vineyards. So this vineyard that you are looking, for example, for us is split in 3 different parcels. In Montalcino, we have a peculiarity. We have something that really is always enchanting me, is that it's a complex mosaics of soil. And you need always to keep in consideration that as the soil changes, it can happen in a few meters. You need, sometimes the harvest happens in a different moment. That means we are talking about 2, 3, 7 days of difference of the harvest time. And for this reason, we prefer to respect this changing of the terroir. And we have a 50 single parcel vinification. And my Brunello, this one, is normally the blend of now 25 different parcels.
Wow.
We keep this vinification separate till the first years till the first years of refining wood, and after we start to blend the different vineyards, and slowly we goes up to have our Brunello di Montalcino. So this is our classic wine that we produce in 150,000 bottles.
Okay. And of course, 2015 was rated 5 stars, the highest rating by the Consorzio.
It's unbelievable. It's a wonderful vintage.
Tell me what made that vintage so special.
What made it special? The climate is that the climate was wonderful. So it's we have had the rain, and when it was supposed to have the rain, and we have had the sunshine. It was supposed to have the sunshine. The equilibrium is extremely important when you have to harvest the fruit. And when the season is gone at the perfect in the perfect moments, you always have a good fruit. And the 2015, we have had a little touch of warm that has helped us even to have a little more concentration in the grape.
Right. I tasted that wine about a month ago, and my notes I put down. I said this was the
I
finest.
thank you very much.
Well, I haven't told you yet, but it was obviously it's a very good review, but it was the finest classic Brunello I've had from you since 2010. A lovely, lovely wine, and it is very approachable. When people think Brunello needs 20 years or something,
No.
a lot of fruit, very, very appealing wine right now.
Even if my Brunello are clean, you will never find oxidation, reduction, or breath.
Right.
That probably at the first they are mistake, in my opinion. And our Brunello, I want they have to be clean. They have to be perfect because I want them to age for a long time. And imagine, Tom, that we have had some tasting in the last years, starting from the 1964, my vintage.
Okay.
And the wine were wonderful because Brunello has this great capacity of aging and to improve a lot by age. Obviously, the 1964, I have some wrinkle, and even the wine had some wrinkles, but it was good. It was absolutely an outstanding Brunello, and a great tasting experience.
That sounds great. What is there a vintage that you can compare 2015 with?
The 2015 with probably the 1995. 1995.
Great year, yes.
A great vintage of a great success. And the 1995 has been a vintage when we have had some frost, some freezing night, and there was a reduction in quantity for everybody in Montalcino, and we realized that less is better.
Mm-hmm.
And but has been a great vintage, one of great. But there are some old vintages where the winemaking was more rudimental. We had not a lot of chemical. We had not a lot of phenolic maturity system to detect the quality of the grape or the maturity, and they show very well. That means that Montalcino is a wonderful place where to produce wine, because the nature helps us a lot.
Exactly. Okay, let's talk about the Manacchiara.
The Manacchiara, this is offered in a wrap paper, and I make it there. This is Manacchiara. Is someone else has each? Oh la la, I don't know. The sunshine is terrible tonight. Voila. We have changed the label. Before was red and blue. Now we have we have it as the Poggio d'Oria, so white like with the blue. Yeah. Manacchiara means bright morning. Is a vineyard that, as I told you before, had been bought in 1962, but the vineyard was there, and we have kept it alive till 2 years ago. And the Manacchiara that was in the top, but now we are producing when. This is the last vintage that we have produced with the top, and we offer in the market only on the best vintages, Manacchiara. And the terroir is over the southeast is different. You have to know that Montalcino has been covered by the ocean millions of years ago, so there we can find some sediment of clay, sandstone, and of petrified fish that offers to the soil a richness, and that means that the wine is rich. It's a rich wine, Manacchiara. It's something that really, when you drink it, I don't know, they make your mouth warm, really warm, like the place where it grows.
Okay.